Hello and welcome to the Football News Zone, the show where we take you through all the biggest stories in the beautiful game right now. We're midway through the January transfer window, but which stories from the beautiful game have been catching our attention this week? This week we react to the tragic passing of Manchester United legend Denis Law, we explain why Chelsea are in trouble for historical secret transfers, and we also bring you all the latest transfer news and gossip as well. All that and a whole lot more is coming up in today's show. Let's dive in. Some sad news to bring you from the world of football. Denis Law has passed away at the age of 84. A true legend of football, a true legend of Manchester United. And like I do every now and again when sadly someone passes away, a former player or perhaps a manager, or sometimes as well when a former player is very unwell, I often kind of look back at their careers and basically explain why this person is a legend, why this person is so great, particularly for younger viewers, younger fans of football such as myself. Denis Law retired from football in 1974, which is over 20 years before I was even born. So I know what it's like as a younger football fan to try and get the information and try and form an opinion about someone, about how great they were. And Law absolutely should be regarded as one of the true greats of the British game. And his accolades and his stats to this day very much still stand up in that regard. I mean, third all time on Manchester United's scoring list. The only players that are ahead of him are Wayne Rooney and Sir Bobby Charlton, both of whom I believe played more games as well. So to be third in that list for a club as big as Man United is something incredible. And he was not a one-club man by any means. He did play some time for Manchester City, for Huddersfield Town early in his career as well, and also Torino over in Italy. He was not a one-club man by any stretch of the imagination, although he did spend the majority of his career, 11 seasons, at Manchester United. But his time at Man United is nothing short of legendary. I mean, he won the league title twice. He won the first European Cup for the club as well in 1968. A couple of Charity Shields and an FA Cup in there. But if anything, that kind of sells him short a little bit, really, when it comes to how good he was. The thing for me that is probably the biggest kind of accolade that he won, without a doubt, is the Ballon d'Or. The only ever Scottish player to win the Ballon d'Or. Basically, I don't know who wouldn't know what the Ballon d'Or is, but if you don't know what the Ballon d'Or is, it's basically the best player in the world, or at that time at least the best player in Europe anyway. Best European footballer playing in Europe at the time was the rule when he did it. And there's not many other British players that have won it for that, in that regard, really. I mean, he's, like I said, he's the only Scotsman to ever do it, but in terms of other British players to do it, there's not many to choose from, really. There's Michael Owen in 2001. Kevin Keegan won it a few times in the 1970s. George Best, of course, won it, the Northern Irish player, and we'll get on to George Best and Bobby Charlton as well very soon. Charlton, of course, won it himself in 66 as well, and then I think you have to go all the way back to Sir Stanley Matthews, who won it back in the 50s. So, in that regard, that he is definitely one of the very best when it comes to the British game. There is no doubt. To be in that conversation there is something he absolutely deserves to be. And we've got to talk about the Trinity. So for those that don't know, Manchester United have the Holy Trinity, really, when it comes to arguably their best ever players. Definitely their best ever trio, I would say, in terms of a front forward attacking line. Denis Law, George Best, and Bobby Charlton as well. Unbelievable. And rightfully there is a statue commemorating this outside of Old Trafford as well. Absolutely deserved to. Tragically, of course, Law was the last surviving member of that Trinity. Sir Bobby passed away a couple of years back, and George Best passed away, I think, 20 years ago or so that he went. But yeah, I mean, it's really sad that Trinity is now a thing of the past, in a sense. None of those three are still alive. But, for me, Law absolutely deserves to be in the conversation when it comes to one of the best British players ever. 237 league goals for Manchester United in 404 appearances. You take it out over his entire career, and he's got 303 goals in 602 professional games. So near as damn it, a goal every other game over an entire career that spanned all the way from 1956 to 1974. And that's a very long career for back then. Football's careers in general were not quite as long back then as what they are now. So yeah, You know, absolutely fair play to him. Like I said, he deserves to be in the conversation when it comes to that. Without a doubt, a Manchester United legend. Without a doubt, a legend of British football, a Scottish football legend. You know, absolutely deserves to be there, and he will be sorely, sorely missed. I've heard a few stories when it comes to Law too, and from what I've heard, he was absolutely thoroughly a lovely person as well, on top of all that. So, yeah, rest in peace, Denis the Menace. We will absolutely miss you, but you will live on in people's memories, rightfully, as a legend of the beautiful game. So, I was out and about today, this morning, and I stumbled across a story that was being played on the radio regarding Chelsea and secret transfer payments during the ownership period of Roman Abramovich. Of course, Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea for nearly 20 years, as they went from a good club in England. You know, they were winning trophies and stuff even before Abramovich took over, to being one of the powerhouses of Europe, of course, eventually winning a couple of Champions League trophies. But apparently, unsurprisingly, if we're being totally honest, there were some dodgy dealings going on between Abramovich and Chelsea. Now, I've got this article here from The Guardian that I'm just going to read out today. But the long and short of it is that Chelsea basically, with their new ownership, with the Blue Corp, whatever they're called, Todd Bowley's organisation, which owns Chelsea, they basically reported this themselves when they discovered this, and because they admitted this freely, they are hoping for a financial penalty rather than a sporting one, such as a points deduction. But let's have a look at the full story here, guys. Full article on The Guardian. Chelsea are negotiating with the Premier League over a financial settlement related to secret payments for transfers made during Abramovich's ownership. A financial settlement is seen as the likeliest outcome, as the club's current owners, Todd Bowley and Clear Lake Capital, that's it, Clear Lake, I knew it was something blue related, discovered the irregularities during the takeover process in May 2022 and reported them to the Premier League and UEFA, the governing body for football in Europe. An outcome is expected before the end of March, with sources confident that Chelsea's self-reporting will ensure they are not hit with a sporting sanction such as a points deduction. The possibility of sanctions was raised after leaked files obtained by The Guardian in 2023 revealed a string of secret payments made during the Abramovich era, sparking questions over how the Russian funded the club's success. The Premier League has been investigating payments that appeared to be connected to the signings of Samuel Eto'o and Willian in 2013. Payments apparently relating to the signing of former Belgian winger Eden Hazard have also been under investigation. Secret payments would normally run the risk of a sporting sanction, but Chelsea's argument is that any allegations of rule breaches were connected to the previous ownership. It has also been pointed out that the payments would not have come to light without Bowley and Clear Lake alerting the relevant authorities after conducting a thorough due diligence process. Chelsea reached a similar arrangement with UEFA, agreeing a £8.6 million settlement in July 2023. It is expected that the Premier League will make clear that any settlement should not be seen as a sanction, while it is believed that rival clubs are sympathetic to the situation faced by Bowley and Clear Lake after the takeover. There is also a strong expectation that the case will not cause Chelsea any issues with the league profit and sustainability regulations. Chelsea have also remained compliant from a PSR perspective, and it has been confirmed that all Premier League clubs for the current period, so 2021 to 2024, are fine in terms of PSR. None of them have breached it. There won't be any penalties for any Premier League clubs for PSR this season. Eto'o and Willian were bought in August 2013 by Chelsea from Anzhi Makhachkala, a now defunct club from Dagestan in Russia. Financial records indicated that payments unrelated to transfer fees were made by two companies, Tabeo Services Incorporated and Fernington Investment Corporation, based in the British Virgin Islands. Of course they are. There is no suggestion either player had knowledge of the payments. Chelsea and the Premier League declined to comment. Right, okay, so we've got a fair amount to dissect there. Because if you're not familiar with these kind of financial misdeeds, shall we put it? I would put this as a misdeed, personally. So there's going to be people, right off the bat, there's going to be people who are saying, oh, Chelsea are getting away with this. You're fining one of the richest clubs in the world. What's the point in that? Why are you doing that? Well, I can actually understand this, because at the end of the day, and I understand those that would want a sporting penalty, because at the end of the day, what Chelsea, without going into too much into detail, without knowing all of the ins and outs of this, without doing a properly thorough investigation of stuff that I can't even investigate. This is all relatively confidential stuff between Chelsea and Angie Makachkala and UEFA and the Premier League. But when it comes to this, you've got what I think has been done here, because even back then there was financial fair play in Europe. I'm not sure if PSR was in place in England at that time, but financial fair play that's been around since 2009. I think it came in around the same time as Manchester City got bought out by Abu Dhabi. But when it comes to Chelsea with this, what they've done is that, what I think they've done, going off of this anyway, is that they will have made, I don't know how much these signings were for. Let's say Eto'o was £30 million and Willian was £40 million. I think it was something around there at the time. So the official transfer fee for both of those players is about £70 million. That's what's reported. That is what is accounted for. However, using these satellite corporations, these other corporations, those two that were mentioned in the article, Tobago Services and Furnington Investment Corporation, those companies will have given significant payments, maybe, I don't know, £5 million, let's just say for argument's sake, for each player, and that would have sweetened the deal a bit for Angie. So they would have got that money, but it wouldn't have been from Chelsea, so it won't appear as anything negative on Chelsea's financial records, and it's effectively off the books at that point. I can imagine that financial reporting in Russia in general, when it comes to stuff like this, is probably not the squeakiest clean, just like a lot of things in that part of the world, without going too in detail. So that's probably what's happened here. And if this was still Abramovich that was owning the club at this time, 100% sporting penalty, give him a fine, because what they've done there at that point, sporting penalty and a fine, I should say, just so I get that clear, some sort of points deduction or some sort of transfer ban, or something like that. Chelsea are no stranger to transfer bans. They had one about 5 years ago or so, I believe. So if Abramovich was still in charge, I would 100% say that, yeah, they need to get some sort of points deduction. But because it's Top Dolly now in charge, it's a different ownership. They had no say in that, even though Chelsea 10 years ago, and throughout Eto's and Willian's time at the club, in theory, benefited from that. They did not pay as much as what they could have done. They did not pay as much as what they would have had to do normally to get those players. Therefore, they were able to get them maybe if they paid those full amounts from Chelsea rather than using those satellite shell corporations, if you would. I'm not as clued up on business as that, but I believe that's what you would call them in this regard. They're effectively just kind of shell corporations. They're just there and a thing that doesn't really do anything, but they're just used to funnel money through. And that's, if that was still the ownership situation at Chelsea, then 100%, yeah. Give them some sort of penalty or something like that in terms of points deduction or whatever. But because this is the new ownership now, they had no knowledge of this before they took over the club. They only discovered it in, when they were doing the takeover process. They were not a part of it. Those players have long since departed. Chelsea are not gaining any benefit really from the transfers of Eto'o and Willian anymore. So for me, I think a financial penalty is probably fair in this regard. They should get 100%. Chelsea Football Club have broken the rules, even if Todd Bowley, the part owner of Chelsea, did not do anything himself. And I think I hesitate to say admirable, because if this got discovered somehow, if there was a leak somehow, then I think that they would be in a lot more trouble. They would get some sort of bigger penalty, like a transfer window ban or some sort of points deduction or something like that. So I hesitate to say that it is admirable of them. It is a positive thing for them to do. I think it's the right thing for them to do, and because they've done it, I think they'll escape a more severe penalty. But that's basically the long and short of it here, without going into figures and stuff like that, which I can't find anywhere. Maybe more of this will come to light in due course, but yeah, you'll bring you any kind of confirmation with it. I imagine they're going to get some sort of, football clubs get fines all the time. Manchester City got a big fine at the end of last season for repeatedly delaying the kick-off times and stuff like that for their second halves of matches. Fines happen all the time for all sorts of reasons in football, and this is a more egregious one. But I think, given the fact that the owners that are currently in charge had nothing to do with the previous ones, and let's be honest here, we knew that Abramovich was doing some dodgy things, we just didn't know what. That's not a surprise at all. Even Chelsea fans, I think, will openly admit that's the case. That's just a fact. They're not the only club doing that by any means, but they definitely were one of the worst back in the day when they were, becoming this European superpower. So, yeah, that's my take on it all, guys. I think it's fair that if they do get a financial penalty. If there's more to this than what is being reported, then maybe they'll get more. But whatever happens, we'll bring you here on thefootballchronicle.com when we know more. Alright, it's official. We know who is going to take over hosting duties from Gary Lineker when he hangs up his mic for the BBC for Match of the Day at the end of this season, and it's going to be actually shared by 3 different presenters. These are Mark Chapman, Gabby Logan, and Kelly Cates. Now, if you're not too familiar with those names, I will fill you in on that. But first of all, let's get some housekeeping out of the way in terms of what this actually means. So at the moment, obviously, Gary Lineker is the main presenter of the regular Match of the Day program. Match of the Day 2 is sometimes presented by someone like Logan, someone like Chapman, sometimes somebody different. But basically, regular Match of the Day, Match of the Day 2, and also the Match of the Day Champions League highlights will be shared with these 3 presenters, rotating around between the trio. Now, in terms of the choices for these, I think it's absolutely great, to be honest with you. I have no problems with this whatsoever. Gabby Logan is someone who was kind of semi-regular, filled in for Gary Lineker on Match of the Day when he's been unavailable to do it. She's very experienced at the BBC, very experienced when it comes to sports presenting, so I think she's a fantastic choice for this. Likewise, Mark Chapman as well, who has been with the BBC for as long as I can remember. You probably know him from either Match of the Day 2, sometimes other kind of viral internet. I think they did a Match of the Day 3 back in the day as well, where it was like basically a reaction to everything. BBC Radio 5 Live, you'll hear him quite a bit on there. I usually hear him quite a bit on Saturday evenings when I'm traveling around, coming back home, or going somewhere for that matter as well. And Kelly Cates as well, you probably know more from Sky Sports. She's been presenting on Premier League programs on Sky Sports for probably 10 years now. It's been a long time. She's the daughter of Kenny Dalglish, which I honestly did not know until relatively recently. Different last name for obvious reasons. So yeah, making that link there is not the most obvious one. But yeah, I think she's a great choice. She's been having an increased profile in the BBC over the last year or so. So it's not a huge shock that she's been chosen for this. She was one of the bookies' favourites to do so. She hosts a podcast on BBC Sounds, which is very interesting to listen to or watch for that matter as well. So yeah, I think this trio is absolutely fine. I was surprised that it's 3 of them. You felt like it was just going to be 1, maybe 2, but yeah, 3 of them taking over with that. I think it's a great thing at the end of the day. Alex Scott was someone who was very much linked with this, which is yeah, that absolutely enraged the gammons really online when it came to that. Well, what does she know about football? Well, mate, she's an incredibly experienced female footballer, had, you know, incredible career, won a lot of silverware, a lot of caps for England. But yeah, anyway, she's not been chosen for that. I think she would have been good at it, to be fair, but yeah, she was one of the main people linked with it. Before, obviously, his scandal as well. Jermaine Genius was someone who was really linked with it, but yeah, obviously he's not going to get that now. He's gone and he's not coming back, unfortunately for him. Whether that's deserved or not, don't know, but we don't know all the details about it. But yeah, no, the only thing I would say is that, I mean, you might say that Kelly Cates counts as this in terms of second-hand experience when it comes to football because of Dalglish being a dad, but the only thing I would say is that none of these 3 have experience when it comes to actually playing football professionally, as far as I'm aware anyway, unless I'm missing something very obvious here. But then again, Match of the Day, traditionally you go far enough back, you know, some of the presenters back in the day didn't used to play football professionally either. Like Des Lynam back in the day, a lot of people really, you know, of my dad's generation and before, really revere Des Lynam as, you know, being one of the legends of Match of the Day, and he was great in everything, but he never played professionally. And he's actually come out and said that, oh, I don't think people who have, you know, not played professionally should comment on football. And it's like, well, what did you do for all that time on Match of the Day? You were never professional. Do you not deserve that? But that's a debate for another day. I think this is great. I'm interested to see how it kind of shakes out and everything. And yeah, I'm gonna miss Gary Lineker on Match of the Day. But in truth, to be honest, I've not really watched Match of the Day in quite some time. It's not really my thing these days, and I know it's the same for a lot of people in my generation. I don't know if this is going to change that. I don't know if these 3 people are really going to enact a kind of change at Match of the Day. I doubt it, to be honest with you. I don't really see that. I feel like Match of the Day's got other problems. It's not the presenters that are the issue. But yeah, anyway, there we go, guys. The 3 presenters for Match of the Day confirmed. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments below. Something truly miraculous was announced earlier this week in the Premier League, and it concerns PSR. No, it's not any changes to PSR. It's that none of the clubs have broken PSR. I know, this is incredible. So for those who don't know how profit and sustainability works, it basically works on a 3-year rolling period. So this current period, which has been assessed, is from 2021 over to 2024. So i.e. last season, the season before that, and the season prior to that as well. And all the Premier League clubs have been investigated. They have submitted their paperwork, their financials, and all 20 clubs have been found innocent. There are no breaches, so there will be no financial penalties, no points deductions, nothing like that coming for this current period. We may see some next season perhaps or something like that, but for this period of time there are no deductions. So the likes of Nottingham Forest, Newcastle United, Everton, Chelsea, Manchester United, none of those clubs that were reportedly borderline when it came to PSR have gone over the spending limit. Of course, the permitted loss for any given 3-year period in the Premier League is £105 million, or approximately £35 million per season. None of them have gone over that. There are no issues with the paperwork. All of them have passed with flying colours. Hooray! It is a miracle. And of the way they've got around this with the miracles is another debate that I've already spoken about. I've done some videos about PSR and how basically I think it's made football markedly worse over these last 5 years, not even 5 years. It's been about 3 or 4 years that we've been talking about this in such a low regard in terms of, you know, bemoaning it. I don't know what's the least popular 3-letter acronym in football, whether it's VAR or PSR, but it's definitely one of those two. But for now, right now, all the clubs are squeaky clean. They may have done some dirty and underhanded, dodgy kind of transfer methods to do that. Just look at what the likes of Newcastle and Forest have been doing with their transfers. I'm not going to comment any further on that. These are all allegations and they are absolutely squeaky clean in terms of a legal sense when it comes to those. But yeah, for now, everybody's fine. The only club really under investigation at the moment is still Manchester City with their court case that is going on. The reported, well, what is it now? 130 charges that they have. They've still got to go through all that. But in terms of right now, for profit and sustainability, all the 20 clubs have passed. So congrats, guys. None of you are getting points deduction this season. So we shouldn't have any asterisks attached to Premier League clubs this season, which makes things simpler from a fan's point of view for sure. And also because Nottingham Forest have been doing so well this season, I'm glad they don't have a points deduction as well. To be honest, I want to see how far they can get up the table. Imagine how depressing it would have been if Forest missed out on Champions League football because of a 3-point deduction for a PSR breach. I'm not saying they wouldn't have deserved it, because they would have deserved it in that circumstance, but I'm glad that that scenario has not come to fruition. So yeah, incredible, guys. It's a miracle. It's an absolute miracle. Hello and welcome to the Football Chronicles Daily Transfer Roundup, the show we round up all the biggest done deals and transfer rumours every day during the January 2025 window. Today is the 18th of January, so let's dive into the biggest rumours going around the world of football right now. And we'll start at Old Trafford, where Manchester United are hopeful of sealing a deal for Sporting Lisbon and Sweden striker Victor Gyökeres, and that is despite interest from Premier League sides, including Arsenal, during this window. Chelsea are monitoring Man United and Argentine winger Alejandro Garnacho and Borussia Dortmund's English forward Jamie Gittins during this window, as both are targets during the January transfer window for the Blues. However, the Blues and Napoli are seeking reassurances about Garnacho's temperament before deciding whether to pursue their interest any further. AC Milan are close to completing a move for Manchester City's full-back Kyle Walker during this window. AC Milan could move for Chelsea's 25-year-old Portuguese forward João Felix as an alternative to Marcus Rashford during this window, but the Blues are not interested in loaning out the Portuguese player. With the signing of Kyle Walker close, Milan have dropped their interest in Manchester United and England forward Marcus Rashford during this window, so it seems like some other clubs may get him instead of Milan during this window. The Gunners are also among the clubs interested in signing Rosenborg's 18-year-old Norwegian midfielder Sverre Nipan during this window. One for the future, the next Martin Odegaard, perhaps for them, you never know. Brazilian forward Richarlison has apparently incredibly told his friends that he wants to leave Tottenham unbelievable stuff. Why would you want to leave Tottenham? You win so many trophies there. Apparently, he wants to emulate maybe one of his idols, Neymar, and go over to the Saudi Pro League to earn an absolute boatload of money during this window. That is the rumour going on at the moment. We'll see what happens there with that one. Aston Villa and Tottenham Hotspur are both considering a move for AC Milan centre-back Fikayo Tomori during this window, but Juventus are also very keen on the English defender. Villa are the favourites to sign Levante's 21-year-old Spanish right-back Andres Garcia during this window. Polish midfielder Jakub Moder is nearing a £1.2 million move to Feyenoord over in the Netherlands, and that is despite being offered a new long-term deal by Brighton and Hove Albion over in England. Galatasaray's Ivorian striker Wilfried Zaha, remember him? He is set to terminate his loan deal at Olympique Lyon over in France and join MLS side Charlotte FC on an 18-month loan deal instead, perhaps not having the best of time over in the Turkish capital. There's a bit of a change in the back room on the in the offing at Southampton, maybe wanting to change things around off the pitch because things on the pitch are not working out right now. But the German Johannes Spors, who is currently the global sporting director for the 777 group, is set to become Southampton's new technical director at St Mary's. Manchester City are interested in Andrea Cambiasso from Juventus, but apparently they will have to pay around £67 million for the Italian defender during this window. Arsenal have agreed personal terms and have a huge wage increase for Real Sociedad's Spanish midfielder Martin Zubimendi. West Ham and Tottenham are both interested in signing Barcelona and Spanish forward Ansu Fati during this window. Aston Villa have apparently rejected a £40 million bid for John Duran during this window from West Ham, which, yeah, it doesn't seem enough to be honest with how he's going at the moment. I feel like he'd be worth a lot more than that, so that's fair enough. Celtic in Scotland, they are one of several clubs interested in signing Aston Villa's English striker Louis Barry on loan, but the Premier League side are assessing their options before agreeing to any kind of loan deal. The Saudi Pro League chief executive Omar Mugarbel, which I'm probably saying wrong, says it's a matter of time before a club from the league signs Real Madrid and Brazilian forward Vinicius Jr. Well, you never know. Maybe in 10 years, maybe when he's on the downturn, perhaps. You never know that one. But former Manchester United and Spanish midfielder Ander Herrera is set to join Argentine club Boca Juniors from La Liga side Athletic Club Bilbao. And the last one, Sheffield United have apparently had a bid of £7 million for Leicester's Republic of Ireland striker Tom Cannon, who is currently on loan at Stoke, but he has now been recalled since that rumour came to me, so could go to, I think it was Sheffield United, Burnley, or was it Ipswich? There was a Premier League side in there too, so yeah. Interesting moves on the off in there, but when we get some more done deals, we'll bring those to you. No big done deals to bring you today on the 18th of January, but yeah, we'll bring you all the rumours for the 19th of January tomorrow, and if you want to check out what's been happening so far in the window, go check out our previous Football Daily roundups here on the channel. So yeah, see you soon guys, have a good one, have a great weekend, like, share, comment, subscribe, you know how it works on here. Have a good one, see you soon.